and welcome back to my channel. So today I have another Sims 4 speed build for you, and we are working on the Fountainview Penthouse lot in Myshuno. So this lot is a little bit different than the other apartment lots in the city. So this one is basically one where you can just like build a house on top of a building. And what I mean by that is that you can alter the walls, the windows, and all that stuff that you can't usually do in an apartment. But I wanted to do this because it kind of just sounded like fun, and honestly I've not really done that before. I have redone this apartment before, but I didn't move any of the walls or do anything like that. So if you want to check that out, that is also already up on my channel a little while ago actually. But for this one I decided that I wanted to do a really cool loft, and I decided to try a new interior design aesthetic. So I decided that I wanted to do like a grunge look, and I've never done that before. I had to research what that even was, but I don't know why it popped into my brain literally last night. I was like, that sounds like fun. So I did a little bit of research and then decided, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and do it today. And so I thought I would talk about what that actually means in interior design. And of course, this is the first time I've ever done it, so if I'm getting it a little bit wrong, please let me know. Nicely, of course, down in the comments. But basically, what I get out of the gist of it is it focuses on a lot of like more natural things, such as like wood, metal, cement, rock, that kind of thing. And it really focuses on a lot of those textures and raw materials, and usually focuses on tones like black, brown, and beige. And I saw in a couple places that you can actually put in like pastels as well, and there's usually like large abstract art involved as well. So that's basically what I did here. So I used a lot of metal accents and a lot of like walls that haven't been like plastered and painted, but instead are like open brick, which is also something that is part of this aesthetic. So having like almost like damaged walls or open walls. And specifically though, I feel like when you think of grunge, you might think of it being like dirty, but it's not that things are dirty, but a lot of times that they're well worn and they're well loved and or distressed or intentionally distressed objects. So I tried to find objects that were worn or had some sort of distress on them, and honestly it was a little bit difficult to actually find stuff that I felt like matched this aesthetic. So I did the best that I could. So hopefully you do like it, but I added in, you can see here, a bunch of windows, all the different roof lines. Just like, honestly, I think it came out really well. There's like, I think it's like 3 different balconies. Like it's kind of insane. And it ended up being 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, along with a laundry room. So of course you can actually end up changing this and doing 2 bathrooms if you'd like to. And this is already up on the Sims 4 gallery if you'd like to download it under my ID Spice and Sprinkles, all one word and all lowercase, and down in the description if you want to see it written out. But as always, if you want to download this lot and change it and do whatever you want with it, you are more than welcome to. And like I said, since this is a special lot, you can actually download this, and it's actually a house on the gallery. So instead of it being a room like almost every other apartment is, this one is actually like a standalone home. So you can actually just download this and use it as a home and not necessarily in Myshuno or on top of this building or anything like that. So feel free to do so. And you can see here that I am starting with the kitchen, and I will say that having the loft upstairs made it a little bit tricky in terms of like how to lay everything out, because if I put any walls in, I had to be careful because you could see it from upstairs, so it became a little weird. And the same thing with some of the lighting. So I decided in a little bit that I'm going to want to add some hanging light fixtures, which don't make a whole lot of sense given that it's just open. So what I ended up doing was using this really thin fencing and just drawing that in kind of like they're like metal beams, and they're meant to hold the lights. So that's actually what the lights are attached to. And I thought that was like, it made it make a lot more sense than just having lights just like floating. So I was really happy with that. And of course, like with the area underneath the loft and the area kind of on the other side, I didn't really need to worry about that, but that open space right there, I definitely had to consider that, as well as like the hanging pots and pans right there. Like I had to be careful where I put that so it wasn't just like floating in the air. Of course, you could leave it that way, it totally doesn't matter, but I was trying to make it, you know, make sense. And I wanted to pull in just a lot of these dark wood tones to just these rich materials, and I was really excited about it. I ended up using in the dining room that like, it kind of looks like a worn like wooden table. You know, you can see some of the cracks and a lot of the wood grain. So to me, it kind of looked like it's been well loved. And so that's why I chose that, as well as the chairs from Cats and Dogs, because I know those have kind of a natural distressed look already on them. So I chose those. And the same thing for the cabinet in the kitchens. For the life of me, I can never remember between the like country kit and like the country pack, like which those came from. Like I always mix them up all of the time, but those actually have, you can tell that they have like a distressed look in the black paint. So I think that looked really nice here. And this is a point where I started to struggle a little bit with the furniture in the living room, because I feel like we don't have a ton of distressed furniture, and a lot of it is very clean, very pristine, which is not a bad thing. And you can still use that in this aesthetic, but that's not exactly where I thought I was going with it, if that makes sense. So I tried to use this rug that is a little bit torn, and you know, it's been there a while, and I was trying to avoid using the industrial couch, but I ended up using it anyways because I just felt like it fit better with the wood tones and the metal accents. And it is also, it's not that like the materials you use in this aesthetic are like rough or low quality. It's like it still has a focus on nice materials. So, you know, the bedspreads and the pillows and the cushions still having a really nice texture to them is kind of part of the aesthetic. And I feel like I've learned a lot in researching this like grunge look, because it does, to me initially, like I thought that it was just be like, you know, a little bit run down and like dirty and messy, but it really is more about like using really good materials in the build, if that makes sense. So I highly recommend trying it if you haven't done so already. It's definitely something fun to try, something new. And then I just added in those wooden partitions over there. I don't think I've actually ever used those before, but I thought that was really nice, really having like this like raw wood look in the dining space. And this is a very open floor plan. What I noticed too in a lot of reference photos was it wasn't an overly cluttered space. Like it also values like an open air, like, you know, just not a lot of stuff everywhere kind of look. And so I try to stay true to that as well. Of course, I do put a little bit of clutter in the kitchen. There's only 2 shelves, so I figured that would be fine and that would look okay here. And like that's kind of where they keep a few of their like condiments and things like that. And then honestly, at this point, I really didn't know what to do with the 2 sides of that living room because there's so much open space. But I do go back and add like a painting section as well as like a yoga workout section. And I ended up using the lockers from, I believe that was the high school pack there. Like that's where they store stuff, and I really like the way that looked, bringing in that metal. And then I actually used this kind of like sunroom area as like an library office kind of thing. And I figured that the balcony that's attached to this is like possibly kind of more so their personal balcony. I made the other balcony on the other side a little more for like entertaining, for like having people over, but this one is not as entertainment focused. Anyways, and I'm not even doing the balconies yet, so I apologize that I'm all over the place. I'm not gonna lie, like we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and so my brain is like everywhere. I am like cooking, cleaning, getting ready for family to come over, all that kind of good stuff. So I feel like I'm just really all over the place trying to make sure I have all of my videos up and ready to go so that I don't need to worry about it while my family is here. But anyways, again, going totally off topic, but I added in this really nice desk, and again, trying to find a desk that worked was difficult. I know that we have the desk from the werewolf pack, but that's just like, to me, it didn't speak like grunge. It just felt like really like a makeshift desk. It just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't to me feel quite right. So I ended up using this like metal desk instead. And then I did this like interesting thing here because I thought I was just going to put like a couch, like seating area. But then I was like, what if we just put a whole bunch of chairs in here, like a seating area? And I don't think I've done that before, but I think it worked out really well in this space. So like if you're having business meetings or something like that, there can be a lot of people. And I'm not going to lie, those bookcases made me crazy. I love them, and I was so happy I could use them because I feel like they're so tall. I can't use them very often. But like the things that you want to put on the shelf like only clip to like one place, and it's like way up there, and so like all the other cubbies, like stuff doesn't like clip to it properly, and it was just so frustrating. And so I do clutter up the shelves, don't worry, but honestly that's why I waited till the very end of this room, was because I was procrastinating. So on the bottom I use several things that don't necessarily clip to it, and then I add actually a lot of stuff for the wall on there, because I figured that kind of gets around having to deal with a bunch of stuff that's not clipping properly or that I can't get to go where I want it to. So just as like a helpful hint, if you do use these, or if you have that kind of situation where it's like you're just dealing with a frustrating piece of furniture, I highly suggest using stuff like on the wall like that. I think that worked out super well. I don't actually think I've ever done that before, but I really liked it. And you can see I changed the flooring in the kitchen because I ended up wanting to use this nice cement that had, like, you could see the grooves in it. And I do take that outside as well. That's not what's out there right now, but I do change it. And I use this as a laundry room. It felt a little random off the side of the dining room, but I have to remember this is a huge dining room. It's almost like it's not even part of it. But I really filled this up with just a bunch of clutter. Like, they store stuff in here and just their laundry space. And this is what I was saying, like, if you do download it, and this could easily be another bathroom if that is how you would like to play with this home. So you can definitely do that, and that would be a really spacious, nice bathroom. Or honestly, it could be laundry slash a bathroom. I mean, you could easily do that here. So feel free to do that if you download it. Of course, you can just like gut it and do whatever you want, but just as like, if you would like to alter this, that would be a good way to do it. And when I was cluttering up the laundry room, I found that like yoga mat and kettlebell we got with the clutter pack recently. And so I was like, oh, I should put like a fitness area in here. And so we put like the little yoga mat here, and then all of that clutter that came with the everyday clutter pack. And that thing that I put on the shelf there is a speaker, so you can have music there and work out with the music as well. Of course, you can work out with the TV too, but you have lots of options here. And so this space, I added in all of these curtains. I do go back and delete them because they just, I don't know what it is about creating these kinds of lofts. Like, sometimes they just have issues. Like, because they're like hanging, it's like they don't go away when you put the wall down. And so it just looked really funny when I went back to the first floor. So I end up taking those out. And similarly on the other side, like of this loft area, you can see where the roof is like almost clipping into the house. It's not clipping into the house. It's just like right there. And I couldn't for the life of me get rid of it. I like paused my recording and tried a lot of different things, but I couldn't get those to go away. So in order to help get around that, I do actually add in more windows. And I think that helps cover up the issue of that clipping roof piece. There's actually two of them. And you may have seen them. You can kind of see that black piece right there. That's actually from the roof that's out there. And so at this point is when I start adding some of that like abstract art in here. And then I started thinking a lot about the textures and materials. And so I ended up swapping out the bed, because that bed from Eco Lifestyle I feel like has a lot of like rich texture in the bedding, so I wanted to use that instead. And I feel like the collage of carpets like pulled out a lot of nice colors here as well. And then trying to find a piece of art to go over the dressers. So that is a dresser, again, that I don't usually use because it is kind of messed up and a little distressed, but it works perfectly with this aesthetic. So I was really excited about that. And this is honestly a really huge space. Like, I feel like if you wanted to, you could make this like 2 bedrooms up here. So that's another way you could do that if you want to fit more Sims in here instead of just having 2. That's totally up to you, but I just wanted that really large loft feel. And then that door right there is actually going to lead to the bathroom. And it's actually a really big bathroom. And part of the reason it's really big is because I was just trying to match it to the outside of the home, and it just caused it to be a little bit larger than maybe I would have done originally. But I think it looks really good. I end up adding in like a giant walk-in shower and a bathtub and a 4 wide like vanity in the bathroom. So that was kind of insane, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it was like a lot of stuff in there, and I'm actually really happy with the way it turned out. And I added a lot of windows on the outside of the build so you can get a lot of light in there, and then you don't have to worry about like having window coverings either, because like they're all the way at the top, so you don't really have to worry about it. Of course, it's a sim, you don't actually have to worry about it, but I always think about it. So That way you don't have to. And so in here, I do the 4 wide vanity, and then this is where I'm actually constructing kind of a custom like walk-in shower situation. And I actually end up putting like 2 shower heads in there too. Like, this really is a very luxurious place to live. And it does come out to be about 112,000 simoleons. So it is actually pretty pricey, but part of that I feel like is because of all the balconies. And I feel like I used a lot of expensive items in here. And then because the shower was so big, I ended up adding like some shelving in there. I figured with a lot of like the toiletries and stuff you might use in the shower. And then adding in that bathtub. And I try to use like, it looked like concrete to me, which is why I chose that bathtub in particular. And then the same thing with the toilet. I felt like it was kind of concrete looking. And the cabinetry I used was the same stuff that I used in the kitchen to try to tie all of that together. And then adding in actually 2 sinks and this long mirror. And then I actually end up adding like a vanity space on the left side. So your sim can actually hang out there. I put a bar there and I kind of push it into the wall, but it's pushing it into that roof piece. So you shouldn't have any issues and you shouldn't be able to see it anywhere in the build. And then I actually end up using some of the new clutter we got. So I actually end up pulling out the mirrored piece that we got with like, yeah, that one right there. Like, I don't know what to call that, just that, that clutter piece. And I think it looks really adorable, like having that little like vanity right there. And I feel like I don't usually have that much flexibility in bathrooms because they're just usually not that large. And you could see there just for a second, those like floating curtains that I do actually get rid of because I just didn't like the way it looked, having them there when you have that second floor down. And this is what I was talking about being the more main entertaining balcony. That sounds so ridiculous because just there's so many balconies that each one has their own purpose. So I put a really cool fire pit and a huge seating space. We have the grill, we have a table, and then I actually pull in the bar cabinets from inside to have like bar seating here as well. If you want to, you could swap out for like an actual bar if you'd like. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it for this build, so I didn't, but that is a pretty good option if you'd like to. And then again, using some cement planters. So a lot of the stuff I use in here, I try to make sure it looks like cement or rock or something that was holding the plant. And I didn't use a whole lot of plants, or I used things that were more like twigs, like what was on the dining table, instead of using like full-blown like plants. And then, so this is interesting. It took me a while to decide what I wanted to do with this portion of the home because it's just like an awkward balcony. It really is an awkward space, and I struggled with it the first time I built here as well. But what I ended up doing was adding these really cool like wall pieces on the corners, which I think honestly adds a really nice architectural piece, but also kind of separates everything out. So I just put some like plants behind those, and then we have a nice hot tub, and then I put a fountain on the other side, and I have a really nice lounging area here as well, so your Sims can go sunbathe and hang out on their balcony. And then the last balcony we're actually going to be working on is their personal balcony. So I end up just putting a nice seating space out there and some gardening. So you have fitness, gardening, painting, you have a lot of stuff to do here, as well as of course access to a computer. So your Sims should have plenty to do, and hopefully you should be able to do anything you need to do in terms of professions. Of course, if something's really specific, you can swap pieces out or add things to it. There's plenty of room. I didn't like over clutter, which, like I said, I feel like it's part of the aesthetic itself, is not doing too much. But we are getting near the end of this build, so be sure to stick around for the screenshots. And if you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for builds or things that you want to see. I would love to read through those. And as always, I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.